Le 7 moto più belle che potresti guidare.
There's nothing cooler than buying an older...
Aspetta, mettiamo i sottotitoli così almeno per la gente stupida come me riusciamo a...
There's nothing cooler than buying an older Ducati with zero consideration for every red flag. Sure, you could do the sensible thing and buy a Japanese super sport like everyone else says you should, or you could buy a Ducati 848 and
facci
experience
vedere
the
la
highest
prima.
of highs
Facci vedere la
and the
prima
lowest
moto
of
secondo te
lows,
più
a true
bella.
Italian love affair. The 848 was produced alongside the
La
larger 1090, in
848.
which they share the same frame and bodywork. When this bike debuted in 2007, it used a brand new 849cc.
Però, cioè, vedi anche qui sta roba. Quando ci si parla di Ducati, ragazzi. Questa è la moto del 2007, ma te ti rendi conto di che cazzo di linee devastanti c'ha? Cioè, del 2007. C'ha quasi 18 anni.
L-twin engine that was making 123 horsepower and 66 foot-pounds of torque. That's why I said the new Panigale V2 is kind of like a classic style 848. They're similar. This
Gormiti,
bike was
bentornato.
designed by Italian designer Gianandrea Fabbro, and it exudes classic Ducati style. Some of the best looking sport bikes hit the scenes in the mid-2000s, and this generation
particolare,
Ducati is
mi
up there with the
gusta.
best of them. It has all the fixtures of beautiful classic Ducati.
Quant'è che mi costa?
Frame, undertail exhaust, single-sided swing arm, and before Ducati was slaying with their V4 engines, the 90-degree Desmo L-twin was the cream of the crop in their flagship superbikes and the smaller supersports as well. The ample torque spread and
Madonna,
rumbly
senti che
exhaust tone are
panico.
totally unmatched and make it definitely one of the coolest bikes you can ride.
Madonna.
Aside from questionable reliability, a mid-2000s Ducati like an 848 has to contend with cam belt services and Desmo valve checks with adjustments.
Quanto costa secondo voi?
Charm and charisma. When you could have any Japanese sport bike that is cheaper, easier to maintain, and oftentimes more powerful, but you still choose an older Ducati, you've clearly got a different set of priorities. All right, so the Indian FTR 1200 is a bike that does...
Non ci pensa nemmeno. No, questa è la 848 usata, ti costa... un 6-7 mila banane, però tipo con 40.000 chilometri, 50.000.
Doesn't make a ton of sense by most, but it does have a
FDR 1200.
It is a cool bike in about every single way. And every time I hear that
Bro,
somebody rides an FTR 1200, I always think, oh, nice, great choice. It's almost cooler because it adheres to pretty few standards and expectations. The liquid-cooled 1203cc V-twin makes 120 horsepower and 87 foot-pounds of torque.
Non mi piace per un cazzo.
Rowdy, but the best part about it is the original generation had a 150 section rear
Cioè,
tire with
non mi
no
gusta
grip,
per nulla,
so it
posso dirlo?
slides everywhere. You can drift this bike all day long. It's punchy and characterful and feels novel.
Poi non metti in dubbio che sia divertente, tutto quello che vuoi, però
as a giveaway bike a few years ago. It's a lot of fun. The bike weighs in at over 500 pounds, which definitely sets it apart from the new category of svelte naked bikes, but it carries its weight in a way that feels appropriate, and it's definitely one of the coolest bikes.
No, non mi piace.
Kind of a
PES mi dispiace. PES. Fammi vedere il prossimo.
Now, some bikes are so cool they pull on your heartstrings despite certain shortcomings on the spec sheet. For the Triumph Rocket 3, the
Rocket 3. Allora. Meglio dell'altra sicuramente.
Instead, it is literally bursting at the seams. The Rocket 3 uses the largest production motorcycle engine ever made, coming in at a massive 2,458 cc.
2005 di cilindrata.
2.5-liter engine for all you car drivers, meaning it is bigger than many modest commuter cars on the road. It actually has a larger engine than my first car in high school.
Bro, ha il motore più grande della mia macchina, letteralmente.
That's crazy. And unlike a big bloated V-twin from Harley-Davidson, who's known for making absurdly large engines in their own right, the Rocket 3 actually makes some serious power as well. This Herculean 3-cylinder makes 180 horsepower
180 cavalli,
168 foot-pounds of torque.
180 cavalli. Ma veramente?
Those are turbo Busa levels of torque. It is by almost every metric a motorcycle no one
Ma
on
come
Earth needs
180
to own.
cavalli?
Brand new, they cost around $25,000. They
Porco.
make an insane
Bro.
amount of power, and they weigh over 700 pounds.
Oh,
for a
però,
motorcycle
posso dire
oozing
che
in excess,
c'ha stile?
it really is more American than it is British. But yep, there it is. Triumph made the most American motorcycle ever, I guess. But the Rocket 3, despite
Brother, con questa roba vai a dare le bucce a quelle con l'Harley, capito? La voglia, c'hai il triplo dei cavalli, però... Oh, ma sai che, onesto, non mi fa... Ovviamente, tipo, non come seconda moto, nemmeno come terza, nemmeno come quarta, nemmeno come quinta, probabilmente. Ma come sesta moto, dopo l'R1, 4,5, Tenere... cosa ci metto? Una moto elettrica, un booster. Sì, raga, mi sono fissato, vorrei il booster. Poi ci metto dentro... una naked. Dai, una naked. Dai, come settima moto questa potrebbe andarmi bene.
Practicality or exorbitance is incredibly cool. It's a bike that turns heads no matter where you go, and other riders will bow before its prowess, and non-riders will display shock and awe when their gaze lands on the car engine slung between your knees.
Sì,
I mean,
due
it's
curve
pretty
comunque
obvious when
poi.
you see three
Vabbè.
gigantic exhaust headers sticking out in a longitudinal direction on the motorcycle that something's quite
Fra
special
300
with
kg
that
ho
thing.
capito, però tu tieni presente che una moto che ha 300 kg, le classiche Harley, non è che hanno 180 cavalli, eh? O comunque i BMW, quelli giganteschi che pesano 370 kg, quelli belli da cruising, non è che ti sprigionano 180 cavalli, anzi, oh mio Dio, niente, la moto più bella, vabbè, niente.
KTM stopped making street legal superbikes because the CEO said they were irresponsible for the street. Well, I also think being $3 billion in debt is pretty irresponsible, KTM, but you
Potrà dissare KTM, perché il CEO di KTM ha detto che quelle moto sono troppo da irresponsabili per la strada. Bam! Irresponsabile avere 3 miliardi di debito. Ah, ma dai, ma sono ragazzi, ma lasciali
don't see me
fare.
talking about that. But for that reason alone, the KTM 1190 RC8 is a super cool bike. It's irresponsible, it's impractical,
Quanto era
and
bella.
it is amazing. Given the
Quanti
current state of
prodotti?
KTM,
500
maybe
esemplari?
This is even a bike of KTM's former
100?
glory days. The KTM 1190 RC8 was a unique addition to the superbike scene when it debuted in 2008. Unlike the round, smooth lines of sport bikes at the time, it was aggressive and angular and exuded maximalist KTM design. By 2009, the bike was making 173 horsepower and 90
173
foot-pounds of
cavalli.
torque from the 1195cc V-twin engine. It really makes me consider the fact that in the late 2000s, there was at least 3 different hopped-up V-twin superbikes. You had the RC8, you had the Ducati 1198, or was it the 1098 by that time? Probably the 1098. And then you also had the Buell, the EBR. They'd bring back V-twin superbikes. So the RC8 was a bike
No,
that had
bro,
very
c'ha stile,
few
non puoi
electronic
dirlo.
rider aids,
Considerando
making it
che
very
anche
raw
questa ha
and
quasi
tactile
20
from the riding
anni,
experience rewards
non puoi
skill
dire
as
che
much as
non
it does
abbia
bravery.
uno
In
stile
a world where
particolare. Dai,
Japanese
bro, c'ha stile, non c'è nulla da dire. KTM a livello di linee sono nella loro corrente di linee loro, però bro o le ami o non ti dicono niente. A me le linee di KTM mi
sport bikes are
piacciono
a dime a
particolarmente.
dozen, not without good reason, of
Me
course. A
gustano.
bike like the KTM RC8 makes a statement. It's a bike that, despite every limitation working against it, it still managed to secure diehard fans and loyalists because of its unparalleled attitude and riding experience. It's a bike that just did its own thing. It toes a fine line between
Si
being
differenzia,
super cool looking and
bravissimo. Cioè, va
monstrously hideous,
cattiva.
depending on the lighting and the strength of your glasses prescription. Because of its uniqueness in the class, it's
Bro,
complete
a me
disregard for
piace.
styling standards at the time, and it's purposeful.
Bravo, la
inception with no
riconosci
concessions
da
made. It
morire.
is certainly a cool
Guarda che
motorcycle.
roba.
The RC8 only wants one thing, and it is disgusting.
Triumph calls this color cosmic yellow on the Street 777
Frega un cazzo.
amazing
Stai zitto,
multiplier.
vai avanti.
The Harley Davidson Sportster.
Scusate. Possiamo andare avanti senza guardare? Ma Muuso, basta di fare il bullismo con le Harley? Sono comode? No, ma io c'avevo le moto sportive, ma poi ho preso l'Harley. Bravo. Adesso però è giusto che io faccia del bullismo giusto. Quindi, ma vaffanculo, va.
But it's lovable, recognizably pleasing motorcycles ever created. But Massimo Tamburini's second most famous design, the MV Agusta F4, is a close second. Owning an MV Agusta is almost cooler.
Bro, io non so cosa c'è al primo posto. della moto più belle da guidare. Ma l'F4, ma l'F4,
than owning
ma
a Ducati in a
l'F4,
lot of ways.
ragazzi.
If you own an MV Agusta, it typically means you're either rich, stupid, or a combination of both. But every once in a while, a
Bro,
cool
se hai
guy
un
buys
MV
an
Agusta vuol dire
purely for the
che sei un
aesthetics, allure,
sommelier.
and brand cachet. This bike may spend all of its time parked in the garage, patiently waiting for you to pull the cover off every few months when you have some friends over.
Bro,
and you
guarda
wanna
quel
show it off.
culo con
Otherwise, you
4
may try to ride
scarichi.
it, but something's gonna break, and then it's gonna spend more time sitting in a dealership while they wait for parts to come in. But regardless, if you own an MV Agusta F4, you own a piece of art and
Sì,
a
è un'opera
fixture
d'arte,
of
fratello, è
motorcycle
un'opera
design,
d'arte.
and that's pretty cool. This
L'ho vista dal vivo, raga. C'è un signore che l'ha comprata e ce l'ha da quando è uscita. Che tipo l'ha comprata nel 2000 e non mi ricordo 7, 2008 o 2010, non mi ricordo. L'ha usata solo lui e nel corso tipo di 20 anni ci ha fatto 30.000 chilometri. Non so come abbia fatto. Però, fratello, quel 4 scarichi sotto il culo fanno paura. Cioè, tu la guardi e ti sembra dal vivo ti sembra una moto uscita 2 anni fa. È devastante. Cioè, proprio è arte incredibile.
bike first came out in 1999
È
when it
proprio...
first used a 749cc four-cylinder engine
Oh,
before
comunque,
being bumped up to 998 in 2004.
nessuna
This engine was
Yamaha
actually
nelle
derived from
moto
an
più
early
belle che puoi
90s Ferrari
guidare.
Formula One engine,
Ok.
so that's a
No,
fun bit
vabbè,
of
ci
trivia
sta,
if you own one of these.
giusto.
The F4 series
Vabbè.
debuted with the F4 750
Bro,
Oro,
ma
which
che cos'è? Bro, ecco, questo... Madonna, frate, va, mi vengono i brividi. Immagina che bello entrare in una stanza e trovarti questo. Madonna, ti trovi questo. L'MV Gusta è l'unica... Cioè, l'F4 è l'unica moto che ha senso tenere ferma. Ha senso rimanere ferma. Perché è letteralmente paragonata a un quadro. Tanto, troppo.
which is as eye-catching as it ever was. The Oro had a bespoke Tamburini-esque design language with a smooth bodywork, undertail exhaust, and a single-sided swing arm. All painted parts were made of carbon fiber, and many of the gold metal parts, such as the wheels and swing arm, were made of magnesium. This meant that the 750 Oro was super light with a dry weight of under 400 pounds. The F4 was sold all the way through 2018 with a displacement of 998cc, so there's plenty of models in the first or second generation that will each break your heart in their own unique way. And also, look at the tailpipes. Oh, that's so cool. I've long praised the Svartpilen 401 as an
Scusa? Questa è la moto più bella che potrei mai guidare? L'Husqvarna 701 Svartpilen?
awesome beginner bike, and for 4 short years, Husqvarna sold the Svartpilen 701. This bike is strange to say the least. The Svartpilen already had super unique styling elements that made it look unlike any other bike on the market. It's like a weird cyberpunk concept motorcycle, and it's super distinct and catches a lot of attention. It is also unique with its use of a 693cc single-cylinder engine pulled from the old KTM Duke 690 and also used in the KTM and Husky Enduro and Supermoto bikes. Using a big single-cylinder engine in a street bike definitely has it.
Bro, è 701 versione da omosessuale. No, beh, dai, carina, però onesto come prima moto, non lo so.